Hello, this is the new look, but the same me, Austin Bradley, doing my personal analyzations of Sandel's Chapter 4, Hired Help, Markets and Morals. On the issue of military service, the best way to conduct military recruits is through the volunteer system. And it is agreed upon in libertarian and utilitarian views that this is the best way to do over the draft and for conscription systems, because with volunteers, there are many men and women out there who would choose to serve and want to serve, and as a result, when they do, they take great interest in learning the dues and requirements in being in the military, and these would be the most capable in battle and would be successful. Libertarian views, they say that it would achieve great freedom for them to decide to do what they're doing, and it corresponds to that they do want to do military service if they so choose, and it does not violate anybody else in society if they decide to do so. And in the utilitarian sense, this would do well for greatest good, because if there is of the greatest number of military wannabes that want to serve, this would help them out crucially. So it very well helps everybody out in both ways. With the draft, in the libertarian sense, it violates the freedoms of individuals who do not want to serve. And also in the utilitarian sense, it does not maximize any happiness. And even though it may be for the greatest good for national security, it would not do so well for the greatest number of possible casualties because of inexperienced military personnel who did not want to go in the first place there. And they will not take any interest, so that would be the issue. Conscription situation as well would not work because it also violates the same principles. And if you choose the many men and women by random drawing, probably there will be more men and women who do not want to go and then forced to go to start with, and then they would be incapable, and then they would cause a lot of problems in the battlefield. So it's not the best way to follow things. The individuals who do not want to show their patriotism and civic virtue through this way, they can at least exercise their right to vote. There could be more options for these people to show their true patriotism by that. But in this sense, overall, volunteerism is the best way to do. Now, for the surrogate pregnancy situations, complete or incomplete. In the libertarian and utilitarian opinions, yes, it's the best way to do, as long as it does not harm anyone else, and as long as both parties agree to have a kid, it's okay. But in my personal opinion, I would have that as the last resort, because you may have repercussions about the mother. Well, if you made a personal agreement that, say I'm the father, I want to be father, and I need a child right away, and but of course my wife cannot conceive because she has medical issues that hinder her from being pregnant. Well, I talk to, say, my sister-in-law, and she accepts. Well, of course I have that, artificial, insemination going, and all this stuff going on for my sister-in-law to go through this. Well, 9 months later, once she conceives my son, then all of a sudden she wants the kid. Of course, I would grant her, visitation rights, of course, because yeah, she did help contribute, this kid being born. But in this scenario, it's as long as there's compromise in this to have a child and afterwards, because mothers would like to know how their offspring would be, unlike in the overall analyzations in chapter 4 about this woman who had to kidnap her son that violated her agreement with this man and wanted to have his kid. See, she had 2 kids herself, And I would understand about that scenario where she was a first time mom, but she wanted to keep her son or daughter for that purpose of having the first child. But see, this would be her third one, and she violated by kidnapping. I believe that the local justice in New Jersey had the right ideals. I mean, if you had the contract in place to have a child, it should still be valid. And it's still, even though you're not supposed to put a price on a life, you did make the decisions that were agreed upon, and she was compensated for what she was doing. But in also in a sense as well, if it was also an agreement to see her child and to have partial custody a little bit, for the child every so often, this any kind of agreement for that, if she so chose to do it, then it could work as well. This is what was lacking. It was not specified she wanted to see her keep it. That was the only thing. But I say that it could have been met, afterwards. But see, at the time, needed a kid. Well, see, nowadays with new technology, now a woman's egg can be implanted in another woman who cannot conceive, and blah blah blah. See, there's a lot less confusion around this kind of pregnancy. And in the libertarian sense, she chose to do this. So there's no problem as long as it does not bother anybody else. The utilitarian sense, it maximizes her happiness and his happiness having a child this way. But also keep in mind too, there could have been other alternatives like adoption. But in this scenario of the surrogate pregnancies, they are right to do. There shouldn't be any hindrance or problems out of it as long as they're specified between both parties and can have better understanding and agreement before and after. So I hope this message finds everyone well, and have a good evening or a good morning, depending on which time you see this video.